Hey everyone, thanks for checking in to episode 12 of the InkPod podcast. I have a very exciting guest, long-term friend of mine, Anthony Ricciardi. Anth, pleasure to have you here, buddy.
Very grateful. Thank you guys so much. Happy we made
Been
this
a,
work.
Definitely, yeah, been a while. So just some backstory. I've known Anthony since high school. He was a couple years younger. I think you're my sister's grade, right? If I'm not
Yeah.
mistaken.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Anthony was always artist slash entrepreneur. I remember you had like your own brand that you were grinding. It was like "We Are in Time," wait kind of thing, and it had a clock. And since then, your career's just blossomed and flourished. And you've gone into so many different medias. And I remember going to Yorkdale to look up in the sky, and there's all these Anthony Ricciardi hearts everywhere. So it's kind of hard not to be reminded of you. And I figured, we haven't really had an artist on here, I don't think, right, Sean, yet. Um,
Yeah.
that so I thought it'd be a cool perspective to have you on here, but then at the same time, still tying to the apparel side, so it'd be really interesting for our audience. So Ant, if you can, introduce yourself, let us know who you are.
Of course. Well, super grateful, and I'm so happy we made this work. But yeah, no, my name's Anthony Ricciardi. I'm Toronto based. I'm still Toronto based. But I do artwork around the world at this point. I'm an artist. I'm a creative. I think ultimately though, I'm an entrepreneur at the root of everything. Growing up, no one said become an artist. It's not a viable career. And a lot of us creatives and a lot of people that want to do creative things have heard that same story. And so I actually went to school. I went to school in Alabama on a baseball scholarship, very separate, and I studied finance because art just didn't seem real. But it's so awesome that today we're going to dive into the apparel side because my initial foray into creativity was through apparel. I was painting stuff, I was printing, I was doing everything in apparel to try to release my creative outlet, mainly because it was an easy transaction. I can sell $25 t-shirts or like
Yeah.
whatever,
Yep.
and I can still get my art to the world. So it's awesome that we're going to dive into that today. But pretty much for me, I'm a gallery artist, so I own my own galleries here in Toronto, then shows in Australia and Dubai and London and sort of all over the world at this point. But it's mainly canvas at this point. But I use a lot of techniques, and we'll dive into the AI stuff. But I use a lot of different techniques in so many different worlds to like really execute my product. And no, it's been an awesome journey. So I'm so grateful. And yeah.
And when he says like he does a bunch of shows around the world, like you're being modest because I've seen your Instagram posts and like who has your painting and who you've met in your life. It's unbelievable. And the artwork that you're putting out in the world, it's all about your creativity and it's all about love as well. Like the heart has meaning behind it. And like you touch a small base as to you went to scholarship for baseball, you went into finance. As a screen printer, as an entrepreneur, we all started a business because we had a dream. Pretty much every screen printer either was in a band and wanted to print his own merch or had the dream of having his own brand, right? And be creative in that outlet. And they realized that sometimes it's just easier to start printing for everybody else than keep following your dream of being that artist, right? Because everybody says, like you said, it is hard to make it happen in that world. I want to know, and I think maybe a lot of people are going to be interested in this, is when did you have that leap of faith of, you know what, I believe in myself enough and I know this is going to work because I'm passionate about it. When did you take that leap of faith to just focus on yourself and what you wanted to do as an artist?
That's a great question. It was a really slow and gradual process. Like Zach mentioned, I've been doing this since high school. It's been, I don't know how many years ago we graduated high school now, 15, 16 years ago. I've been wanting to do it for so long. So what happened
Yeah.
to me is after I graduated, I get into finance, and every single night and weekend I started painting. During that time, to go onto the clothing side of things, I was painting jackets and t-shirts and hoodies, mainly because it was allowing me to wear my art out into the world. People would be like, what is that? Who are you? What do you do? And like, oh, I'm actually an artist. Like, look, here's my art. And it was an easy way to really get it out into the world pretty quickly. And
It's like
also,
wrapping your car, Sean, when you put the car
Yeah.
wraps, he's
Yeah.
basically wrapping himself with his art.
I love it.
exactly. And friends and family. And when they would go out and, I didn't have clients back then, or not a lot of clients, so always friends and family. And I would just be like, here, take a t-shirt, here, pick a hoodie, take a jacket, whatever it is. And they would start wearing it. And it started to snowball. That snowball process happened specifically when I was working, during those 5, 6 years I was in finance, this goal continued to just grow. And I finally said, like, if I'm ever going to do something crazy, like quit my job and become an artist, I should do it while I'm young. And 7, 8 years ago now, I left to pursue art full time. And I really just, I dove in head first and like full force with no backup plan. No, looking back now, it's actually insane. I actually think about this. A lot of people, I get to speak to a couple of our employees. They go to OCAD, the big art school here in Toronto, or I spoke to business classes and all this stuff. And I go, when I think back and I tell that story, I brush over it pretty quickly. Like, oh, I was young, so I'm like, I wasn't that young. I was 24, 25. And also, I didn't have anything planned. I literally was like, I'm just going to become an artist. We're just going to figure this out. And I think it's an important lesson. Like when you really believe in something, when you really love something, if you give it your all, you're giving yourself a chance to succeed. And that's all I really did. So
Yeah.
a couple different things happened on the back of that at that transition point. And I think it's important for your audience and combining is that the clothing side of the world, because I was doing this, the way I promoted my actual canvas art initially was through clothing, like I mentioned. And a friend of mine and I started a company called Dust to Gods, and I know we're gonna dive into that. And that was a big, very pivotal moment early in my career that helped my art really expand.
Yes. I mean, you talk about going all in, right? And I think that is really important for anybody who wants to take something seriously, because if not, your job is your crutch, and then it's like, well, I'll try and put some effort into this on the weekends or whenever I can after work. But, you're not going to have that 100% motivation. It's not going to take off. Like, I found that I had to do the same thing. I had a job, I used to work at Style Exchange. I don't know if you remember that. I was a district manager at Style Exchange. And then from there, I said, you know what? I want to start a printing business. And I literally called up RB Digital. I don't know, it was like 40 grand worth of equipment. And I just set up in my garage and that's it. I had no job. It was all or nothing. If I didn't make this work, I'm going hungry. And I had my place at the time. So I was, I had payments and it was my early
Yeah.
20s. And then I had that same mindset. If I can do it now. I don't have kids yet. I'm not married yet. Now's the time for me to do it. It's very hard when you have this dream, when you're, 40 and you got mortgage payments and yes, people always say you can make it any time, of course, but it becomes a little bit more challenging once you have those commitments, once you got to take your daughter to ballet class and all that kind of stuff, right? So, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, and getting to Sean's point, Sean mentioned a lot of people, especially in screen printers, are always like, band guys that are like, oh, I'm going to go on tour. I got to print 200 band shirts. And they get a quote like, oh, $30 a band shirt. I'm going to print my own. Okay, well, I'm going to buy a little manual stuff. That's how a lot of people start. But then there's a lot of artists that I see all the time saying like, hey, just like you, the art is an easy way to print onto apparel and get it out to your audience.
Yeah.
The challenge that I see, yeah. So the one challenge. So what I'll say is the one challenge that I see generally for artists is I'm sure writers, they have the writer's block where it's like you're constantly forced to be creative. So if you're starting a clothing brand, you're always having to come up with new ideas, always having to try new things, and it becomes challenging and it's hard to always have that constant flow, which is why a lot of them eventually start taking side jobs, which is printing for, Bob's Burger Joint or whatever. And eventually they just drop the artist stuff because that's easier.
Yeah.
Is that something that you deal with on a regular basis? Artist block. How do you get over that? How do you keep things fresh and exciting all the time for yourself?
It's a great question. I of course I deal with it often, and the way that I've dealt with it is through different outlets. So I've always tried to stay in the creative lane. But here's a really good example. 2 years ago, 3 years ago now, I was having very bad like artist block, writer's block, creative block, and like 2 months went by. I just didn't want to paint. I didn't know what to paint. I was just annoyed, and I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. So I said, let me try to make a sculpture. I've never done that before. It was a key turning point for me to overcome creative block, was to try something that I had never done, but it's still in a similar path. I didn't think it would help my art at all. I didn't think anybody ever wanted a sculpture. I made a sculpture. It was really bad. It looked horrible. So I said, okay, well, I know how to design though. What if I find someone that knows what they're actually doing to actually create this for me, like a third-party company?
Yeah.
And I said, okay, perfect. I'll design it. And that's when I came up with the link for art concept. So I had to
Yeah.
start with link. it was only because of the sculpture. And
Huh.
now, so I'm painting right behind me actually has a bunch of linked parts. I do linked parts in like 70% of my artwork now, which I never did before, only because of the sculpture. So it actually, by doing something, it unlocked something new for me.
It's crazy.
The
Yeah.
way that I always get through that now, because it's a great question, because all of us deal with it, is I just try to just make totally different. And so
Yeah.
now that could be reading a book, that could be doing something totally outside, that could be a workout, it could be something just outside of what I do day to day. Because it can teach me on like it can give me inspiration on to do something else.
Yeah. That's crazy.
My goal is
And
creative block's real.
one thing that I see actually, you know, you're always now you have your linking hearts, which is your common theme, but you implement that in so many different medias. Like I know for again, I'm going from following your Instagram throughout the years, but I think you've done jewelry and like rugs and like basketballs,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
lots of wall murals outside. I've seen you. I mean, now you do some statues. Like I think you're getting them fabricated, whatever. But I see
Yeah,
those.
fabricated, but yeah, I do sculptures as well. I
Yeah.
tried everything. And all
What
of
other
those,
crazy stuff have you done? I don't remember all of them, but
yeah, all of those came from creative blocks. Like all of
yeah,
them came from me wanting to see things in the world. But yeah, I've done every type of product that you can think of. My jewelry line was a real project. That was a full blown jewelry line. But the shorts, actually, I'm gonna grab a pair of shorts.
are you still doing the jewelry line? And just we haven't introduced Cassie. So Cassie is Anthony's wife, and she's very involved in your business. She
Yeah,
travels around the world with you. I don't know to the extent of what she does, but she's always there. And it seems
yeah.
like you guys have a really cool flow going.
Yeah, yeah. No, I mean, she helps with everything. Just as, I mean, obviously as a partner and wife, but also just as a like the jewelry line, for example, she was running that on the back end. Like she just helps with a lot of the back end and stuff. When we had all the galleries going, she was like the front person in all of the galleries. So
Awesome.
she's been instrumental to absolutely everything. The thing that's happened with you mentioned all of them. So I've done basketballs and clothing and all these different things and any of the big heroes. What ends up happening with all skateboards, I'm looking at a skateboard right now. What ends up happening with all these things is because as a creative, we want to do so much, it ends up taking away from this. So
Yeah.
6 months, I wake up. 6 months later, I have this big, beautiful jewelry line, and I'm so obsessed with it. But I'm like, I haven't painted in 6 months. And
Yeah.
the unfortunate truth is that
Vad finns det?
okay, sorry. You're good?
For.
There we go. So the key that I ended up unlocking was I was like, I haven't painted in 6 months. And that's my main thing. That being an artist and painting is where I need to always go back to. So what I'm actually trying to focus on now is I'm gonna grab a quick pair of these shorts that I want
Yeah.
to show you.
Cool. Yeah.
This is so interesting.
Yeah. It's sick, man.
And I feel like a lot of like entrepreneurs, right? We go through that process of like
So I have
artist
two
blocks or
shorts.
whatever, but
Yeah.
This
Creative
is-
block.
This,
Yeah.
these
Dude.
shorts here are super fun. And
Cool.
I even
insane.
made pull
How are
back.
those printed? Are those dye sublimated? I can't
Yeah.
tell the materials. That Paul? Yeah.
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 Cut and
And then
sew.
it's all over print. So this is actually a painting. You can see close up. It's actually a
Yeah.
canvas. You see the texture. So
Oh,
this,
very cool.
so is this. This is that you can see the brush strokes in the you see pose of brush strokes there.
Very cool.
Yeah.
So these are actually paintings that I took are. These have done extremely well for me to a point where I should make them into a brand. I don't. I haven't yet. I just do like little drops here and there, make a few hundred, and that's it. But I love this stuff because it's allowed me to try these things, put it out into the world. But I do have that creative afternoons. Like I want to go all in. I want like build this as a brand. Or like I even got I think these are yeah, it's like the like full blown this
Yeah. The label
Yeah.
and everything.
fun stuff. These are actually done in China.
Yeah.
But I through so many different trials and errors, I've made relationships overseas and locally and different things to create all this type of stuff. But going all in on it has been just really tricky, and I've always had to go back to, what got me.
Yeah. And speaking of you making that the shorts another brand in itself, you did have a brand which you touched on, Dust of Gods. What's the story behind there? Because I don't think you're still involved in that. Is that correct?
Yeah. So So Dust of Gods was a collaboration and started as a collaboration with a good friend of mine, Anthony Ricciardi, who is he's an architect and designer in the city. He's globally known. He's fantastic, and he he was one of the instrumental key components to make me transition out of finance into art. He designs restaurants and venues all around the world, and he actually hired me for my first few murals. We so from that he's always dressed very nicely, and he had like buys clothes from around the world because he travels so much. So he gave me a couple of jackets to paint just for fun. It's like, hey, like in your studio, just like splash these, paint, you full print them. I had a heat press, so I can't find one gun. I had a heat press, and I would just press on some designs in the back. It's very, very simple. It might be off. And so I do this, and he starts wearing them out. He's in LA, and he wears them out to this one store called H. Lorenzo, which is a top boutique in LA on Sunset. And the owner's like, the owner's like, where did you get that jacket? What is that? So I made it. Me and my friend made it. What do you mean? We didn't have a brand at this time. This wasn't
Yeah.
real. It was like making some cool jackets. I would just hand knitting jackets with heat presses on the back. And what I used to do was before I had a heat press, I would go into Basel, our old high school, and our art teacher, Mr. Ricciardi, he would allow me to come in through the back. I would use their heat press. I would press like 6-7 jackets, run out of school because you're not able to do that as a
Yeah,
It was for the kids, but
yeah,
anyway,
yeah.
it started a brand. It created a brand, and he's like, "Well, get me some of those." And our first 3 jackets, I made 3 jackets, and the first 4 jackets I sent down. 2 went to the Migos, like 2 rappers. 1 was to
Yeah.
Demi Lovato, and 1 was Justin Bieber. Like that was the
Wow.
first one. It
Wow.
was insane. Because there was this cross mix of art originality. They were all one of its kind pieces, but there was also some scale and feel to it. And you can actually wear a piece of art. And they all wore those jackets, and it was crazy. It's amazing. But it was wild to start. And that's what started the brand. So after that, we didn't even have logos on that one. After that, we're like, oh, we need a brand. So
Yeah.
the concept of the brand is called Dust of Gods, which was we were going to take. I had a friend of mine who owns they're a vintage wholesaler, but they don't do like fine vintage. It's like
Yeah.
skid and stuff of vintage that they send overseas. And I would sort through all this vintage stuff and find these unique pieces, these unique jackets. And then so we were dusting off old gods, like old Levi's jackets, old Shinko jackets. We were dusting them off and creating them into new works of art. So that was the concept for it. And it's still, that brand is still very successful today. But a couple of years ago, same thing happened to me. I was running 4 different galleries in multiple locations around the world, trying to paint, trying to do murals, and I was like, and then I was still hand painting jackets. I'm like, this is not feasible.
Yeah.
This is not
Yeah.
shit, I physically can't. So I ended up leaving that. But we're still good friends. We do collaborations all the time. I see him all the time, but it's just been, again, refocusing back on.
And I think like a lot of entrepreneurs, we have our head just spinning all the time, every single day, right? And I think being that creative outlet of having all those opportunities and canvases that you can print on, from murals to canvas to shirts to shorts there's so many ways that you can do that business, right? And I think that we all have that, not that mistake, but we all have that error of going into everything and wanting to be everything, when we're really, really good at maybe a certain 2 or maybe a certain 3 things, right? So niching
Yeah.
down and how did you take that decision of, you know what, I'm going to leave those things behind to really focus on my Canva, even though it was maybe opening more creativity, right? Did you see those things as money opportunities that you were like, I'm not going to use it as money, I'm going to use it as a learning curve to bring back to my canvas, to my main focus? Right? Because that's super hard. Even for me now, I see so many opportunities of how we can make money with t-shirts because everybody wears them. So, hey, we can sell it to schools, we can sell it to like artists, brands. How do you niche down? I think this is really important for a lot of companies and not just printers, right? Because it's hard to do. What was your mindset going through that?
It's also it was a really tricky one because you are 100% right. Your eyes, we all get these money goggles sometimes where we're thinking of this idea, and I think I'm like, oh, shorts, I could sell thousands of these things, and like I know what the margins are. And for me, it's a little bit unique, and I'll explain why. So I sell, to be transparent on numbers, like my canvases are in the $15,000 to $30,000 range, is where I sell canvas. I gotta sell a lot of shorts to make $30,000 profit on a singular thing, and it's a lot of legwork. So what I decided to do instead was let me use these as the global brand. So many people, their first become a collector in mind. The first step was buying a pair of shorts, buying a t-shirt, buying a little traded necklace, right? Because it's $75 product. It gets them into the game. It fits into our ecosystem. And I haven't done it in where I mentioned ecosystem. I've done a very bad job on branding the ecosystem with regards to like the follow-up and all that stuff, people that have bought the lower ticket items. And I do that with prints as well. So that's screen printed prints. I do that like just on a small piece of canvas.
Yep.
So just like as you would a t-shirt, I just try to cut out. Or I've done it on cotton as well, which is a really cool concept. I did with Avid actually. We printed on cotton, and I did this what they use to like make mummies outfits and stuff like that. That makes it the part. I hardened the cotton.
Oh yeah.
The cotton.
Yeah.
The wall sculpture. I also did that for t-shirts. So I would print t-shirts and then turn them into wall sculptures.
Wow.
Yeah.
But also I sold those as higher ticket items. So to go back to your question, I had to like train my brain not to get the money goggles for all the other things. I use them as marketing like components, not sales, because it's really tricky in the game that I'm playing to
Totally.
think about. You have to go all in. Like I said, so if I'm gonna make a t-shirt line, I need to go all in.
To see.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's interesting because you've you've done so many different types. You played around with a lot of different types of printing. Like you showed us the dye sub shorts. I actually remember I printed a bunch of like DTG prints for you at one point. I remember it was when I had my old print shop. Right, it has what I call it was angels. I remember it was just like a lot of wings and angels, and I don't remember what project that was for exactly.
I think it was the last thing of no, actually, I'm trying to think. Was it the first Dust of Gods or the last?
I think it was. I think it was Dust of Gods.
It was our first. Yeah, it was. Oh
Yeah,
my gosh.
and they were oversized prints.
That's crazy.
Yeah, you forgot about that, eh? Yeah.
I remember coming to your shop today. It was so impressive. I remember printing. I couldn't remember what it was for, but it was those big angels with wings with the half bodies and like the sculptures that were been dissected and stuff.
Yeah. It was a crazy print. I remember it was hard for us to print because it was like oversized. I think we had to break it into multiple prints. It was like at one point I'm like, why did I get into this? I'm like, it's rent. We'll figure it out.
And then the stress and making those t-shirts after.
Yeah, exactly. And then you've obviously done a lot of stuff with screen printed. Now obviously DTF's come into play. It's something we talk about a lot. What's your take on DTF? Have you started playing around with it? What do you think when you compare that to screen print or DTG? Where do you see advantages? How do you as a consumer of these services, because you're not doing them yourself, how do you kind of dictate like, hey, what's the right thing for me? Do you consult with the printer? Do you do your own research? Like, what's your take on that?
One of my friends just bought a DTF printer, Mo my design. I'm not sure if it's familiar with it, but
I sold it.
You did? To Mo?
Yeah, Mo.
That's amazing. I love
the Mamaki DTF, yeah.
Yeah.
So I love DTF for people like me or for people that are I actually had a phone call this morning with a friend who's a construction worker, has his own line. He wants to make like 50 t-shirts or 40 t-shirts, all different colors, all different things, all different stuff. I'm like, call my friend. Because you're going to use the DTF model and I did a whole collection of t-shirts. When I do different shows. So like, for example, I'm very specifically remembering my Australian show. I was there for 10 days, a 10-day show, and I made a different shirt for every single day with a piece of the art on, had a different date, like, very customized. And DTF allowed me to do that because of the flexibility and the cost was fine. Like it made full sense.
Very affordable. Yeah.
And a lot
so
easier
affordable
to do than DTG, especially with like the larger prints, things like that.
You can use full color. I can do it. It feels good. And honestly, I personally, my experience with the washing and like the longevity of it, I've had some shirts that I've now had for about a year and I've worn it all the time.
Oh, insane.
I wear this shirt often because I paint from this. This is actually DTF'd and pressed on top. So
and like you would never be able to DTG that, and even screen printing that would be because it's that what's it called
Sherpa,
teddy fleece, whatever Sherpa. That's it. Yeah,
Sherpa.
Yeah. So I mean, it allows you. The amazing thing about DTF is that it can be applied to pretty much any material, and like you said, the washability is incredible. There was this whole thing in the beginning when it first came out. People said, I don't like the hand feel, but everyone, like the industry's accepted it, and a lot of people actually prefer it. Like it's opaque. There's no fibrillation.
I just made.
Yeah.
I went to Uniqlo, Zara, and H&M and got like a ton of stuff. I try to wear anything always with a heart on. I bought like 30 different shirts, just random shirts, and I printed a bunch of different color hearts with my name in it. It's full color inside, artwork inside, like how small it is, and the details were fantastic.
Yeah.
You actually can print full color, and I just printed a bunch of t-shirts. It was super easy.
And the cool thing is with DTF, it's like you could, like, let's say for you, you have all these different hearts that you print, right? You could print a whole sheet of hearts and just cut them out and just heat press them in like weird places. Like you could have the heart going from the inside of the shirt to the outside, some crazy stuff like that, right?
Exactly, we did. And it gives you the flexibility to do that, especially as an artist. I love that. Or any creative is like, wait, I can just move it around. And it's also excellent for just sampling stuff, because if one of those t-shirts really works, someone's like, the reason I made these shorts, I ended up making them, is because I made a pair for myself, and they were DTF'd. I just had shorts, all the hearts only on the front. There was a lot of screen pressing, so I didn't want to do it. And everyone's like, where did you get them? Literally to a point where I was like, okay, damn, I need to make it. But that's what a lot of people can do with the DTF models, like try different color schemes for all the stuff, and it's very affordable to print 10 different shirts with 10 different colors, which would be impossible in silk screen. Be very difficult. So it gives people flexibility.
Yeah. So Sean, he's big into DTG. He has, which are the machines that I used to run, right?
He's fantastic. We did a lot of silk printing.
Yeah.
Printing directly on canvas.
Yeah. So he does embroidery, he does screen printing, he's a DTG, and then that machine that Mo Mine has, so he has one of those, and he has two more that are getting installed Monday. He's got 3 of those things already, and he's seeing that it's really cannibalizing a lot of areas of print decoration. Yeah.
Once people realize what you could do with it and like how to utilize it there's all different scales of it. Like for a major scale, obviously not. But if it's for something like this, somebody needs to try something, it's a trinity.
Yeah. And the quality is really, really, really good. Okay, we dove into, you said a bit AI when you were introducing what you're doing and all that. And we had a great talk with Marshall about AI and how he used Midjourney and all that. How do you use it to be creative? What do you see the future of artists? How are they going to use it? What's your input on it?
Yeah, so cool. I'm so new into AI, and tech as a whole, I'm not great, but I've done 2 projects so far utilizing Midjourney, and it really opened my eyes at a level like I just never could expect. I designed a bunch of artwork for a new restaurant called Silent H, and it's a Mexican theme restaurant. And I wanted to do these paintings, just 3 huge paintings, and I wanted to do these paintings where I was using vintage Mexican style tattoos. There's a very iconic style of Mexican era tattoo, like historic ones, like they're like the faces and like it's very Mexican. So I was looking all over Google, couldn't find good quality images, nothing. I just couldn't do it. Like Midjourney, let's see what that happens. Design 10 Mexican style tattoos. I didn't even know what that meant. Boom, pop up, perfect. Oh, okay, 10 more. I got 100 of these incredible tattoo designs, like literally full tattoo designs, and I used them in the entire background of my artwork. So then recently, I just did these paintings literally 3 days ago. So that was the first foray into it, and I loved them. I was like, I want to add. So a lot of my artwork is a little bit. This is what I consider abstract, which is like these hearts, their length, and different stuff like that. So I do a lot of abstract stuff. It's not really abstract. Obviously, there's a picture, but I do a lot of celebrity figures. I do a lot of like mixed media. And I've done a collaboration with Disney in the past, and I wanted to recreate Mickey Mouse and Minnie Mouse. So I went into Midjourney. Never done this. And I was just like, make Minnie and Mickey holding hands as a marble sculpture. Didn't know what that meant. It came up with the most incredible marble sculpture and tons of variations for me. I was like, wait, what? This is
Yeah, we're going away too.
I had to utilize this right into my artwork right now. And then I did it with a bunch of things. I'm doing a project in Whistler, BC for a gallery, and they wanted me. I'm doing skiing paintings. I was like, I'm gonna do a skier going down a mountain made out of marble. Like that was the prompt, and it did it like immediately. I have the painting over here. I'll show you guys. But it was like what? And then so I look at this stuff as I never think any of this stuff's gonna take over. I just don't believe it. I genuinely don't. Just like when the NFTs came out, I didn't think it was gonna take over art. I think that it's gonna be a supplement to art. And just like I've literally now proven to myself that I can use AI to help add value, help add texture, help add depth into my artwork. Same way that I've done with all different printing.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I don't think, for example, I think it's the human the human element of you putting in the work and using your hands and your heart to create the art that puts value. So
Yes.
Yep.
even if I were to see a really cool AI art, let's say you have your canvas there in the back, okay, linked art, and you're selling that for whatever you do, she said 15,000, and then I get an AI art, that's maybe even looks better,
Yeah.
and someone's going to tell me it's $1,000, I wouldn't pay for it. I don't see value there, right? To me personally, maybe it's
Yeah.
different for other people, but for me, I put the value on the person behind the art, right? So I don't think it's going to take over either, 100%.
But there is in that I have seen some. So actually, how I got into Midjourney was there's an artist that's in a big gallery in Dubai right now, and he openly does all of his art on Midjourney through prompts and then prints it on canvas. That's it. And I was like, at first I was like, what? Why is this even art? But I literally tried to recreate some of the things he did because the prompts were so incredible. The prompts
Yeah.
were so specific and perfect. That is an art in itself. And then he ended up
100%.
recreating art, putting some diamond dust, putting some gloss and blah, blah, blah. So making it like actual, tangible piece. But the art is in both. So I totally agree. The hands, to me, if you're painting something and my hand embellishing something will always have more value. I don't care what anyone says. But so I totally agree with you. But the aspect of the creation from our mind to actually implementation of something real is even. I'll show you on my phone really quickly. Even this photo of look at all these Mickeys that were created. So here's so you guys can see this here. So I
Yeah.
said paint Mickey as a sculpture and make it painted.
Wow.
And then the oxygen. That's my gym. But this
Okay. So,
that's
Wow.
how it looks like a
so
sculpture.
now what do you do with that?
I'll show you.
It's insane. So I think the hybrid is going to be even more expensive. It's going to go into a place where if you're able to create amazing
I take that sculpture,
Oh, wow.
hybrid.
I cut it out, I cut it
Yeah.
into the artwork and blend it into the artwork. So it's like yeah.
That's
That's
wicked.
insane. That's what I was saying. That's what I was saying to Zach when you went and got that. I was like, I think the future is going to be hybrid, where you're actually going to use AI as well as your hand drawing, right? Your hand skills. And
Yeah.
that's going to become more expensive than simply hand or simply AI, because you're mixing both, and you have to be really creative with your mind, not just your hands, to create amazing art like that, right? And that's
Yeah.
hard. That's extremely hard.
For sure. There was this big thing with photorealistic painters, which are to me the most incredible artists in the world. Like if someone can paint
Oh, yeah.
that's
Yeah.
But the big thing in the art market and for historical pricing and all this sort of stuff, it's like, where is the creativity there?
Yeah.
We just took a photo, and the talent is immense. The talent is the best. But when you're buying something, there's a reason that Jackson Pollock is an artist that's splash painted.
Yes.
That was a lot easier to do than spending 120 hours having a perfectly sculpted face.
Totally.
You can argue that there's more creativity and feeling and depth and thought into a Jackson Pollock.
100%.
Agree.
There's a tricky dynamic to, like you mentioned, Sean, that you want to be able to utilize both into the art, and that's what actually will increase the value. Because you're taking some on this painting, it's hard to see in picture or video, but the whole thing's actually diamond dusted, which is shredded glass. So when light hits it, actually sparkles. So
Very cool.
Yeah, but it's so there's hand painting, there's spray painting, there's acrylic, there's diamond dust in the whole entire thing, and then there's an element of this like cutout image of AI, which is a marble sculpture. All these layers make for a very strong piece.
100%. I agree.
That's
And
wicked.
I think this is just the beginning of where we're going to see this grow and go, right? And that's, I think, is going to bring even more inspiration to artists like you to be more creative and have different outlets and be like, you know what, I've never tried this. Let's go and dive in deeper into something. And maybe even for like the reasoning behind your art, right? I'm going to create a reasoning and a mention around it that's going to be even deeper because people can actually see it and not just feel it. And everybody has a different perspective into what you're doing, right? So maybe you're painting in the back, the link heart has a specific meaning to you, but maybe the person who's going to buy it has completely different perspective to it. And when they see it, and that's what I love about it, right? This is what I think everybody that's out there is able to create with their own perception and in their own values. And that's what makes art amazing.
Yeah, I do a lot of custom art as well, and it actually came on the back of I did these like 4. I've always done custom art, but with the heart specifically, I did these painting of these 4 linked on just 4 linked hearts for no reason. And a family walks in, family of 4, and the husband's like, "We love this." Like, and literally like that's our family. Those 4 hearts right there represents each one of us. And it gave me this whole new concept of doing. Like, I do that a lot now. Like
I love it.
I'll do custom artwork that includes like, if they have a family of 5, like 5 of the hearts in this whole painting are a little bigger, and they just know that. It's not like a family portrait anymore, right? We can add this a different level of creativity into it, which they internally know, like, that's us. And someone looking at it, it's like, oh, that's a beautiful piece of art. So it's really fun to add those depth and dimension into things.
Yeah. I'm sure the custom world can be annoying too. Like, even with what you deal with, like, are there some people that are just like, hey, I want you to do a, Mickey Mouse with these hearts in the back and a townhome and, driving a Ferrari. And it's like, do you get clients like that where it's like, it's trying to drive you out of what you do? And then it's always like, is it going to be what they envision in their head? Because what's in their head is not what's in my head. Has that ever happened to you where you've done a custom piece and they're like, dude, this is not even close to what I wanted?
All my clients are amazing.
Yes.
No. That happens all the time. It happens all the time, but I'm very lucky that early on, obviously when I'm just getting started, I had to accept everything. I didn't accept. I don't do anything nudity, political, or religious. I just never have. So I've never done those. So no one can ask me for them. It's not like they can say, I saw you did this. So what I feed is cult me, because I do get criticism press all the time, every day. But what's happened is, because my breadth of work is so large, like the amount of paintings that I've done over the last 8 years, it's so immense that people can look at the whole collection and just get a drift. They're like, I know what he does. So I would say over the last few years, I've been very, very lucky that the requests for art have been in line with things I've created. So when someone asks me to do something now, it's usually on size. It's like, oh, I really like that, but I need it bigger or smaller. Or
change the color of the hearts.
Exactly. It's usually on color. So it's not, and I mean, I do a lot of paintings that only have like a very subtle part.
Actually, Sean, speaking on color, I don't know if did Anthony mention he's colorblind?
Are you serious?
No.
We forgot that. That's.
This in the background.
Oh, wow.
This piece now, I don't know if you can see it, but in the background, there's these they're black on black.
Yeah.
Parts. So they're there, but they're not. Face on.
This is
Sean,
insane.
Do you believe that he's colorblind?
No.
Fun spin.
And I just let Sean know that you're colorblind.
So how do you make that work?
I work in layers. So a lot of my paintings, like when you see them in person, are very, very thick in texture. And the reason is I have to allow every single. So if I use a color, it has to dry before I use another color. And unfortunately, I don't have like the screen printing thing where I can just pull it through a dryer and pull it back on. I have to actually let it dry. So I really not career ruined a bunch of paintings, but now I just created a method where I'll add blue over here. I'll let it dry. Then I'll add the yellow, because historically, if I try to rush, I tried this thing, but the blue here, yellow here, it makes like muddy brown or whatever color it makes. I don't see that transition, so I just read the bottle when I do it. So because light colors they all look the same. Blue and purple exactly the same. Red and brown, green and brown, black and brown, red and pink. They all pink and baby blue, like they all look pink and purple. They all look the same to me. So
do you have to like map it out? Like, okay, here's a canvas that I'm doing. Here's 12 hearts. I want this one to be yellow, and you like write in yellow, red, or blue. Like, do you have to kind of like plan out your art that way? Because like, how do you know you didn't put 3 yellows together or something like that?
It's a good question. My wife, absolutely into the studio. Be like, can I?
So this will be red. Is it?
Does this work?
Blue? Yeah.
I use a lot of, honestly, and that's a lot of the reason, like my color palette, like that I use is very primary. Like it's very
Yep.
generic in the tones. I'll blend a little bit. I'll have some pastels here and there, but it is a pretty standard 6, 7 color range. I don't use any shades of much. It's always like I'll just use those colors because of that issue.
Mm.
Like I spray paint's a lot easier. So that's why I got into a lot of spray painting. Spray paint dries immediately. So
Yes.
I can read the can, spray it, and then I can literally go to the next color. So
Mm.
spray paint is a savior for me because it's allowed me to genuinely like figure out how to like work quicker because I've been able to. Cause, at the end of the day, and the other way I combat that Zach is like I have 50 paintings on the go right now. So I'll add my yellow. I'll know it's yellow, and I'll just put it aside, and I'll just go to my next painting. So usually I have like a yellow afternoon or a blue afternoon, and I'll just like do everything I need to do in blue, and then let it all.
Yeah, yeah.
So-
I was actually gonna ask you that. Hey, it's kind of like us in the decoration world, right? You gotta do your inside
Yeah.
neck tags. Okay, do all the inside neck tags. Okay, now do all the front chests. Now do all
Yep.
the embroidered sleeves. So we
Yeah.
gotta deal with it too. I mean, you're overcoming a much greater hurdle being a colorblind artist, but we got our challenges, right, Sean?
Of course.
Oh,
You
100%.
always figure out with the challenges at hand, right? It's like everyone's always asking how. I don't genuinely, I'm not just saying this, I don't see it as a downfall to anything. It's just made my process that much better. I think it's
Yeah.
created the way I create art.
And now
Everyone
it's pretty
offers
much
me
like
last see color. I'm like, I don't want to see color. Why would I want to see that?
no, and it's more like it's the way you work now, and it's kind of like your secret sauce in the sense that like you were talking that you don't do shades and things like that, and it becomes your image, it becomes your brand, right? And I think that's a big statement to it. You use your advantage to what it is, and now here you are with creating your own brand. I think that's something super powerful that a lot of people need to have and like niche down on what you're good at, right? We go back to that, and like that's going to become your brand with time. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
What you have any exciting projects lined up for this year, like throughout the rest of the year? How far out do you plan out events? Whether it's a mural in LA or whatever. How far out do you book yourself?
I do have some stuff booked, but my life is pretty crazy from the last minute stuff. Like a couple weeks ago, I was in Mexico right before the baby was born, so like a month ago. Wow. But it happened like 2 days before. And then a client was like, "Hey, can you come here and do this?" I'm like, "Yeah." And next day I'm in Mexico. So that happens a lot. I have a lot of events planned out. I have a big gallery right now in the airport in Pearson in Terminal 1, and we're going to be doing a lot of activations and murals in the Pearson Airport, which is really cool. My gallery in Yorkville Village here at Toronto is going to be expanding in size, so I'm going to be doing more installations, a couple murals, and a couple different activations across the mall, which is really exciting. And then I have a couple different shows. So I have I'm going to do another show in Australia. I'm going to do another show. Yeah, I'm going to do an actual show in Mexico. And then, but yeah, I do a lot of work in Miami. So I'm going to be back down in Miami in April, like in a couple weeks now, for a show. But yeah, I wouldn't say I have anything crazy big planned with regards to like major shows or anything. There's just a lot of like trucking along and a lot of different stuff. And what I've been really focused on is everything we've said about all the different tentacles that I've done with clothing and jewelry. Is my goal for 2024 was to create the best collection of original art in the largest scale that I physically can. And that's really what my goal is. Like I have probably 30 or 40 originals available right now, which is I usually have 5 or 10. And my goal is to have about 120 in the next month. And I'm almost done. Like it's not on, like these aren't available yet. Like the ones I'm showing you here, like these are stuff that are going to come onto the market. And I'm just really like working to develop multi collection because I believe that I'll be able to, if I have that collection, I'll be able to do so much more on back.
Yeah.
Sure. So that's really what the focus has been for this year. Just get as much digital artwork because the next step is going to be all of the benefit of me creating my own brands, doing so much printing, the benefit of me making jewelry and making basketballs, shorts, and all stuff, is that now I can bring it. My goal is that I'm going to bring this one day to a luxury house of the world. a Louis Vuitton in the world, a Dior in the world. It doesn't matter who it is. A Nike in the world. Say, let's do a collab.
Yeah.
Because I've done it myself. I know what it looks like. People like it, but I need your firepower. I need your
Yeah.
distribution, your scale. I need your expertise in creation to actually create my vision. So I'm actually happy that I've done all and spread myself so thin in the past because it'll allow me to now in the next stage go into a license model to like I just make coffee cups myself from the studio, but why not collaborate with Kiwi of the world or Big Brand and we'll be like, we make coffee cups from my branding market. Why not?
Totally. Yeah, that's the way to do it, man. And you've built an incredible portfolio. Like you being so
Yep.
diverse, you go to a brand like let's just say you said Louis Vuitton. Louis Vuitton doesn't just make bags, like they make really cool skateboards. Like they just did the what was the last one they did? Pharrell, right? The Pharrell one. Really
Yep.
cool stuff. And they made they did I think there was even a Pharrell basketball and a Pharrell teddy bear. So you as an artist, a brand comes to you and be like, this guy's so much more than just canvas. Like his brain already works in a way, even though he can't see, all these really cool products, and he can figure out how to adapt his style to it, right? So,
That's right.
yeah, man, that's exciting. Well, it seems like you got a really busy year ahead of you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just try to stay busy. You're gonna see it. That's all you can do. It's creative.
Yeah, I think
Sweet.
it's awesome to see you use the leverage that you have with the brand that you're building and you've been building for so many years, right? And I think that's what you need to do. And props to you doing it, right? Finding the right partners with the leverage that you have to keep growing. And I mean, we always ask like, how is Elon Musk doing what he's doing, right? In a day, and he's just using leverage with the years he's built and acquired with the knowledge he has. So props to you to do that, and I'm excited to see some Louis shorts with some hearts on it, and
That's
I
it.
might be getting my own, right?
So, Anth, where can people find you? I know you have, I think your Instagram handles are Ricciardi Paints, right? Is there anywhere else that people can see your stuff?
My website, Ricciardi Paints. Everything's Ricciardi Paints. But mainly Instagram and web. So yeah, RicciardiPaints.com.
Very cool.
Or Pearson Airport?
Yeah, or
Yeah.
or Oakville Village, or Sydney, Australia, or
Pick a city on there, buddy.
Dubai.
Awesome. Well, thanks, man. Listen, it was a pleasure. We haven't been able to connect in a while, so it was nice
Great.
to do that live. But yeah, it's really been really inspiring seeing your journey. Yeah, we're kind of completely different spaces, but kind of same time. But just seeing your passion, your drive, your successes, your beautiful family, which is obviously growing and plan to continue growing, or you got more for third? Done?
It was awesome.
You got the boy and the girl, right? Finished?
Absolutely.
Awesome. Well, yeah, thanks again. I'm sure our listeners love this. A lot of really cool things that they could take from this and personally help
100%.
improve their career. So really appreciate everything. Thanks you, Anthony.
No.
Thank you so much
Take
for your
care,
time.
listeners.
See you.